Let's dive in today all about how to totally nail that commissioning engineer interview. You're the one making sure everything's running like a dream before a project gets the thumbs up.
Huge responsibility, absolutely. It's that crucial link between finishing construction and making sure the project actually does what it's supposed to.
And to help us out today, we've got RoleCatcher's career and interview guides for commissioning engineers.
Great resources those are.
Plus, they've got some AI tricks we'll get to later, but first, let's hit some questions they might throw your way. Starting with the classic. What got you interested in being a commissioning engineer?
Seems simple, right?
Right.
But you'd be surprised how many people trip up on this one. They give these generic answers like, oh, I've always liked machines, or tech stuff is cool. But interviewers are looking for something deeper.
They want to know you're not just here for the paycheck.
Exactly. They want to see that spark, that genuine passion.
So think about it. What really drew you to this field? Was it a project that blew your mind? A mentor who inspired you?
Maybe you just love taking a jumbled mess and making it work perfectly.
Yeah. Find that thing that lights you up and let them see it.
It's so true. They're not just hiring a set of skills, they're hiring a person.
Totally. Okay, next question's where it gets real. What experience do you have in commissioning engineering? Now, what if you're fresh out of school? Does that mean you're doomed?
Absolutely not. Even if you haven't had an official commissioning role yet, you've got experiences that show you can handle this. Think about those group projects in college.
Oh, yeah, those were fun.
Or maybe you fixed a crazy software glitch or even organized a big event. It all counts. It's about highlighting those transferable skills like problem solving, taking initiative.
So you're like a detective, right?
Yeah.
Gathering clues, figuring out what makes things tick, even if it wasn't a giant turbine at the time.
Precisely. And as you gain more experience, you'll move through those career stages: junior, assistant, commissioning, senior engineer. The career guide actually lays out how the responsibilities change at each level.
That's smart. Helps you tailor your answers as you climb that ladder.
Exactly.
Which reminds me, RoleCatcher's AI can do some pretty cool things with resumes, right?
It can.
Does that come in handy here too?
Oh, absolutely. Their CV resume builder actually digs into job descriptions and figures out exactly what skills they're really looking for.
So it's like it reads their mind.
Kind of.
Uh-huh.
And you can use that to tweak your answer, making sure you hit those key points they want to hear.
So even if you've got tons of experience, it helps you focus on what this particular employer cares about.
Exactly.
That's pretty slick. Okay, back to those interview questions. Questions 3 and 4, they get down to business. How do you approach troubleshooting? And how do you make sure equipment is running safely? Seems like those go together, right?
Hand in glove. Troubleshooting, it's about having a system. Think of it like a doctor figuring out what's wrong with you. You gather info, test things out, rule out possibilities until you find the root cause.
You're a detective again.
Exactly. But safety is woven into every step of the way. It's not just about fixing the problem, it's about fixing it without putting anyone in danger.
Right, because you're often dealing with some seriously heavy-duty equipment. The career guide even mentions hazards on construction sites, weather, all kinds of stuff.
It's a tough environment sometimes.
Makes sense that safety would be job number 1.
Absolutely. And this is where you can really shine by being proactive. Mention specific safety protocols, even if they're from a different setting. Maybe you worked in a lab with strict rules, or have some basic construction site awareness.
Showing you've got that safety mindset, even if you haven't worked on a wind farm yet.
Right.
Oh, question 5 is interesting. How do you ensure commissioning is completed on time and within budget? This is tapping into those project management skills, isn't it?
It definitely is. Remember, commissioning is like a project within a bigger project. You're juggling timelines, resources, stakeholders, all while making sure the technical side is flawless.
A lot to keep track of.
It is, and that's why the career guide actually lists project management as a relevant degree for this role.
Makes sense. Now, remember they mentioned something called the STAR method in the interview guide. Does that apply here?
The STAR method is perfect for this kind of question. It stands for situation, task, action, result. It helps you structure your answer, give a specific example from your past where you tackled a similar challenge.
So instead of just saying, I'm good at managing projects.
Right. You give them a real story. So think of a time you managed a project, even a small one, and use that framework.
Got it. Okay, let's say I've got a good story, but I'm not sure if it's quite right for this job.
Interesting.
Can RoleCatcher's AI help me tweak it?
That's where their AI feedback comes in. You can actually type in your answers and get suggestions based on the job description. It might tell you to highlight certain skills, add more details about a success you had.
Or even rephrase things to match the company's vibe.
Exactly. It's like having a virtual career coach fine-tuning your answers.
I see how that could be a game changer. All right, let's tackle questions 6 and 7. These are about the people side of things. How do you make sure everyone's in the loop? And how do you handle conflicts that pop up during commissioning? Because it's not all about machines, right?
Not at all.
Yeah.
Commissioning engineers are constantly talking to engineers, contractors, clients. It's a whole team effort.
So many personalities to manage.
There are. And clear communication is key, making sure everyone's on the same page.
And I bet conflicts happen, especially when deadlines are tight and things get complicated.
They do. They do. The career guide even has a whole section on typical interactions, showing just how many different people a commissioning engineer has to work with. Think of it like diplomacy on a construction site. You need to be able to listen, understand where everyone's coming from, and find solutions that work for everyone.
Wow. So it's not enough to be a tech whiz. You've got to be a people person, too. Do you think practicing those conflict resolution skills in your everyday life actually helps you in an interview?
It totally does. The more you use those muscles in real life, the more natural and confident you'll be when you talk about them in the interview.
Good point. Okay, last question for this part of our deep dive. How do you stay on top of the latest industry trends? It seems pretty basic, but I bet there's a lot to say here.
Oh, it is basic, all right, but that's where they get... You can't just say, oh, I read some magazines.
Right. Got to show them you're serious about keeping those skills sharp.
Exactly. This is where you prove you're all about continuous learning.
Because this field is constantly changing new tech, new rules. Got to stay ahead of the game.
You got it.
The career guide even mentions those certifications, like the PE license and the CCP, as ways to show you're committed.
Those are definitely big ones. Getting certified shows you're not messing around, you're serious about your professional growth.
They show you're not just happy with where you are, you want to keep pushing.
Exactly.
What if you're just starting out, though? What are some ways to show you're staying current that don't involve years of extra studying?
Oh, tons of things. Going to workshops, conferences, those are fantastic for learning about the latest and greatest and networking with other pros.
Makes sense. What about online resources? RoleCatcher probably has a ton on this, right?
They do. Their skill guides cover all sorts of topics, from specific technologies to project management methods, and they're always updating them so you know you're getting the most up-to-date info.
So even if you're not ready for a big certification, you can still show you're actively learning and staying in the loop.
Absolutely.
I love that. Okay, I think we've put our listeners through the interview ringer enough for now.
Probably.
Let's zoom out a bit and talk about the career path itself.
That sounds good to me.
We've touched on some parts already, but the career guide has a really good overview of all the different specialties within commissioning engineering.
It does, yeah.
You don't have to be a generalist.
Yeah.
You could really focus on something you're passionate about.
Exactly.
Like you could specialize in renewable energy, pharmaceuticals, even automation. The sky's the limit.
It really is. And having that specialized knowledge makes you even more valuable to employers. Could open doors to leadership roles or even consulting gigs down the road.
So it's about thinking long-term, not just about that first job.
Exactly.
But to even get there, you got to have the right foundation.
Yeah.
What are the typical academic paths to becoming a commissioning engineer?
Well, the career guide lists several relevant degrees like mechanical, electrical, and civil engineering.
Yeah, the classics.
Those are the usual suspects, yep. Got to have that solid grasp of engineering principles. But it's not just about the technical stuff. The guide also mentions degrees like project management and construction management, showing how important organization and leadership skills are.
Which, as we've discussed, are super important for commissioning engineers.
Very true.
It's like this multifaceted gem. You need all those different sides to really shine.
Good analogy.
And for people who already have some work experience, those certifications we talked about can really boost their credibility.
Absolutely. And even beyond those formal qualifications, continuous learning is key. Going to industry events, keeping up with publications, taking online courses, it all shows you're dedicated to staying on the cutting edge.
Speaking of cutting edge, let's talk about the actual day-to-day of a commissioning engineer. What's a typical day like?
Well, the career guide gives us a pretty clear picture. You're going to be splitting your time between the office and on-site visits, construction sites, industrial facilities, even power plants.
Definitely not a desk job.
Nope. You got to be comfortable being on your feet, dealing with different environments, maybe some not so ideal conditions.
Yeah, the career guide even mentions potential hazards like bad weather, noise, dust.
All part of the job.
Oh,
Safety is absolutely critical, so got to be alert and follow those protocols to a T.
but that variety, that hands-on aspect, that can be a big plus for a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
It's about getting in there, getting your hands dirty, and seeing your work actually come to life.
That's what it's all about. And speaking of seeing things come to life, let's talk about career progression. Where can this role lead you?
Yeah, what are the opportunities for growth for moving up a ladder?
The career guide lays out a pretty clear path. As you gain experience, you can move up to senior engineer roles, maybe even manage projects, or you could get super specialized in something like renewable energy or sustainability.
So it's not a dead-end job. There are tons of ways to grow and evolve.
Exactly. And as you get more experience under your belt, some people even go into consulting or start their own businesses. They use their expertise to help others.
Cool. Now let's get real for a sec. It can't all be sunshine and roses, right? What are some of the tough parts that commissioning engineers usually face?
Well, the career guide's pretty upfront about the challenges. You're dealing with complex systems and equipment, finding and fixing technical issues under pressure, coordinating with all sorts of people who might not always agree.
Sounds like you need a whole lot of patience and diplomacy, plus a talent for thinking on your feet.
That's it. And don't forget the long hours and potential for travel, like we talked about earlier. It's a fast-paced world, so gotta be adaptable and able to roll with the punches.
But for people who love a good challenge, who get satisfaction from making things work perfectly, it can be an incredibly fulfilling career.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, before we jump into the final part, let's circle back to RoleCatcher and how their platform can help aspiring commissioning engineers. We've talked about their career and interview guides, the AI resume builder, and those awesome skill guides.
And we can't forget the Get Discovered feature. It helps you stand out to employers, puts your skills and experience right in front of them.
That's right. But there's even more to it. RoleCatcher also has this super powerful interview prep tool with tons of practice questions and AI feedback, something like 120,000 questions.
Oh,
It's like having your own personal interview coach right in your pocket.
that's a good way to put it. You can practice answering those common questions, refine your responses, even record yourself to see how you come across.
And the AI feedback, it's tailored to the specific job you're applying for, so you know what those hiring managers are really looking for.
Exactly. Using technology to your advantage to help you feel confident and prepared for that interview.
So whether you're just starting out or looking to take your career to the next level, RoleCatcher has a bunch of resources to help you every step of the way.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And with that, let's move on to the final part of our deep dive, where we'll tackle some thought-provoking questions about where commissioning engineering is headed and how you can be a part of shaping its future. And we're back for the final stretch of our commissioning engineer deep dive.
We've covered a lot of ground, haven't we? How to nail those interview questions, what the career path looks like, and even how RoleCatcher can give you a leg up.
Now, let's get a little bit philosophical, shall we? We've talked about staying up to date with industry trends, but what about looking further ahead? Where's this whole field going?
The big question, right? And the role of a commissioning engineer, it's always changing, always evolving.
And the career guide kind of hinted at one of the biggest things driving that change, that growing focus on sustainability and renewable energy. That's got to have a massive impact on what commissioning engineers do, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, think about it. We're shifting away from those traditional power plants and moving towards massive solar farms, wind turbine installations, even these cutting-edge energy storage systems. Commissioning those projects, well, it needs a whole new set of skills and knowledge, you know?
So it's not just about making sure the equipment works, it's about making sure it's working in the greenest way possible.
Exactly. Minimizing that environmental impact, getting the most efficiency out of those systems.
So you're not just commissioning a system, you're commissioning a more sustainable future.
I like that. That's a great way to put it. And that leads to something I think every aspiring commissioning engineer should be asking themselves. How do you see this role changing? What kind of mark do you want to make on the world?
That's a good one to ponder. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about getting a job. It's about being part of something bigger, something meaningful.
That's it. And I think that's what makes this career path so exciting, you know? You're not just working with machines, you're working on solutions that benefit everyone, the whole planet.
It's about problem solving, for sure, but it's also about purpose. And like we've been talking about, with the right skills, the right attitude, and the right tools like those RoleCatcher offers, you can really make a difference in this field.
Couldn't agree more. So, as you gear up for that interview, remember to show off those technical chops, that passion for solving problems, but also your commitment to a greener future, to making engineering a force for good in the world.
That's a fantastic note to end on. Remember, the world needs skilled and passionate commissioning engineers more than ever.
So go out there, ace that interview, and help build that brighter future, one perfectly commissioned project at a time.
And that wraps up our deep dive into the world of commissioning engineers. We hope you found it helpful, maybe even got you fired up about this amazing career path. Best of luck with your job search, and remember, the future is yours to build.